This is Grow Omaha Uncut, where you can watch our radio show, including what goes on in the commercial breaks. And be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service, here at the KFAB studio, the Penthouse studio high above Underwood Avenue. Glad you've joined us. This is the only show anywhere in the metro area that talks about business expansion, real estate, construction, economic development, really anything related to Omaha becoming more vibrant, more prosperous, and perhaps a little bit bigger. Thank you to our sponsors, Cheer Athletics, the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym, located near Highways 50 and 370, and Dingman's Collision Center with 4 metro area locations. And now, without any further ado, it's time to bring on my co-host, a man who is a legendary real estate deal maker in the flesh, Trenton Magid.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main control booth
at KFAB. Well, so
Good
Trenton,
morning, Jeff. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
This has been a big week because we have a Brad Williams Grow Omaha construction update video.
Always epic and always informative. If you go to growomaha.com, click on the construction videos, Brad Williams really gets around town. He's a man about town. He's a professional videographer, photographer, helicopter, drone specialist, and he really knows the market as well.
Yeah, so Brad does these videos throughout the year. They're sponsored by Leader Construction. And as Trenton said, you can find them on the Grow Omaha website. Just click on shows, SHOWS, on the navigation bar. In the drop-down window, you'll see construction video. And this month, he really focuses on East Omaha. There's Millwork Commons, projects downtown, some stuff out by 72nd and I-80. He's all over. And if you haven't ever seen the videos, they're great because he just kind of gives you a video highlight of some of the construction projects that are underway, tells you a little bit about them. They last about 9 minutes, and it'll be a fast 9 minutes.
Jeff, I have a challenge for our listeners, our great listeners and even the average ones.
Okay, what is it?
Go to your phone, go to growomaha.com, go to the weekly market report where it says subscribe. You can put your children, your friends, your parents, anybody that you think needs to be more informed or should be informed or would enjoy what restaurants are coming and going, what development projects are happening, what's happening with our great city, and you can sign other people up. We don't do anything with the names other than send them a Thursday email with all this great free information. Just first name, last name, and email address, and it's like a free gift to your friends. And they're going to sound a lot smarter, too, and they're easier to hang out with.
And for purposes of complying with the United States Can-Spam Act, we don't officially recommend you sign other people up, but I guess we have no way of knowing if you do.
Right. And, of course, you got their permission.
Yeah, got their permission. Okay, let's go into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. They know mortgages. They've known mortgages for more than 3 decades. And if you are thinking about getting a new version of the American dream, one of the first things you want to do is talk to Holly Schneiderwind or one of her team members over at Eagle Mortgage. You can find them at the office, which is 114th and Davenport, just south of Dodge, or call them, or, a lot of times the easiest thing is to go online, eaglemortgagecompany.com. But they are a mortgage broker, which means they are not beholden to any bank. They are not captured by a bank.
Or lender.
They can shop the market, get the one that's right for you, and they have quite the track record of doing it. Look, for most people, houses are the most expensive things they buy. And if you're thinking about possibly getting a new one, make Eagle Mortgage one of your first meetings. Eagle Mortgage Company.
Even if you're getting a used house.
.com. Well, I think most people buy used houses, don't they?
Yeah, lightly used.
Okay, so let's go into our news of the week content. And the first thing on the docket, Mutual of Omaha's future skyscraper headquarters. Interesting feature about it this week by WWT. They talked to the developer, and something interesting that came out of the story, the concrete shear tower, that's the central core that holds the elevator shafts and the stairwells and all that sort of thing, should reach 200 feet within 6 months from now.
Wow.
And 300 feet by the end of the year. Now, when it's complete in 2026, it'll be 677 feet tall, which is, as we've talked about before, the tallest building in a multi-state region. But, interesting, if it's going to be 200 within 6 months, it might actually be more than 300 by the end of the year.
I'd love to see that.
You would love to see that, and all you have to do if you want to see it is go drive downtown, and when you're in the 14th and Farnham, 15th and Douglas area, just look up. It is coming along pretty nicely. The Nebraska Department of Transportation is receiving a $15.3 million collection of federal grants for improvements to 21 airports across the state. Here in Omaha, we're most interested in 2 airports, Epley, which will receive over a third of that money, $5.37 million. That will go toward the $65 million glass canopy project that is currently being installed over the terminal drive. That is a much bigger project than people think, because it won't even be done until early next year. And then the other Omaha airport, the Millard Airport, will receive $293,000 to repave for repaving of some of the taxiway. So now, $5.3 million doesn't sound like a whole hell of a lot when you consider 2 weeks ago we were talking about the $950 million terminal expansion. But as they say, every little bit helps.
There's no question about it. And kudos to the Omaha Airport Authority and everyone down there. During this construction period, it's pretty slick, the pickup and drop off that inside.
That's not bad.
Inside the cover. It's not much of a walk to go across the street. You got the covered walkway or the sky bridge, whatever you want to call it. So they're pretty organized down there. You just got to follow the signs.
Well, interestingly, the World Herald had an article, I believe it was Sunday, in which they named former retired Kiewit CEO Ken Stenson as Midlander of the Year. Very well deserved, by the way. But in the article, it was talking about the downtown parks. Now, Ken Stenson, along with Mogens Bai, who is the former Valmont CEO, those were the visionaries and the movers, shakers, the driving forces behind the 3 big riverfront parks, $350 million renovation. But here's the thing in the article that jumped out at me, Trenton. 2 million people have already visited the 3 newly renovated riverfront parks, and more than 40,000 have visited the Heartland of America Park's skating ribbon just in the time since it converted from roller skating to ice skating.
I believe it, and I think that these are stakeholders, these are families, foundations that literally got together, sat around a table probably, and said, let's each put in $50 million and give it back to our... And it doesn't matter whether they have $1 billion, multi-billion dollars, or a lot of money. They're doing it. They're doing it while they're still alive for the most part, and they're champions of our city, and they are pretty low-key if you think about it. It's called the Riverfront Park. It's not called the Stinson Park. It's not called the Bowens Bay Park. It's the Omaha River City, or Omaha Riverfront Park. Yeah,
we are so fortunate in this town, and I know regular listeners hear us say this a lot, but don't get tired of saying it and don't get complacent about it. We are very, very fortunate to have an unusually large and dedicated philanthropic community. A lot of business leaders or people from families that have had successful businesses, in some cases many years ago, that have just stayed very loyal, very active. And it's shocking how many of our blockbuster projects are largely, or in some cases almost 100%, privately funded by people that are doing this just for the good of the community.
When I make donations, I go by the name Anonymous.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay, you're prolific. And then finally, Metropolitan Area Planning Agency has released a report, and it was the big story in this week's newsletter if you want to go take a look at it. But kind of a couple of cool things. So first of all, it looked at growth of traffic in the metro area from 2020 to 2022. Now, you might be thinking, it's February of 24. Well, it takes a while to compile this stuff. Now, 2020, traffic fell off a cliff because that was the pandemic year, and it took a while to come back. But nevertheless...
Everybody was riding the city buses.
Nevertheless, the region's traffic did increase 13.4%. during that period of time. And the areas of town that had the largest traffic increases, and you'll find this interesting, were some areas in far southwest Sarpy County where there's been a lot of new development. And one that might surprise you is some of the stuff in north central Douglas County along Interstate 680, say from Dodge all the way up north. And another thing from the report that jumped out at me is kind of significant. For years and years and years, the busiest interchange in the state of Nebraska had always been the Kennedy Freeway, I-480, I-80 interchange. Well, the I-680, 80 interchange has passed it up. And this is our chance to play Stump the Trenton.
Yes.
Trenton.
This has not been pre-planned. I have not been given the answers.
You have not, unless you read the article. How many cars per day go through the I-680, 80 interchange in 2022?
2022. See, I had all the 21 numbers. Let's see, 22. I will say, I have no idea, but 75,000.
You're way low, and therefore you'll be thoroughly impressed by this number. 231,000 cars a day.
Holy moly!
That's a lot of cars to go through the I-680.
Oh, I thought you were talking about different makes of cars.
That's right. Okay, so with that, we're going to end the news of the week brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. Going to take our first break of the hour, and when we come back, Trent and I are going to be talking about streetcars, about the local economy, and whatever else. So stay with us. We promise it'll be interesting. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Hey,
So, went to,
otherwise known as the Brothers.
I think it was the second day or something of the opening of the new Charleston's.
I went there last night.
Do they have a liquor license yet?
Nope.
Two things that go together.
Which was quite disappointing.
Think about how much money they're losing.
Oh, I know it. 'Cause I went with Stephanie has had a retreat for church council out at Carol Joy Holly and Camp. So it was Jack, Maddie, and myself, and we took mom and dad out for dinner.
Nice.
As a thank you for having watched.
Loud in there.
It was too loud in there, like to the point where it was a chore.
They need plants. They need baffles or something.
Something.
How can you be a restaurateur that's been that? Hal Smith's a smart guy.
Yeah, whoever he is.
And how in the heck do you? What happened that like?
Visit Dingmans.com.
You're planning this for a couple of
Did
years.
someone get fired over this? Because think of the money this is costing. I mean, because like I wanted to have an old fashioned. When I go out to dinner, I almost always have an old fashioned. And with this cold, an old fashioned would be nice. And just kind of cut through that, numb it a little bit. And my dad wanted to have a beer, and so that's $20 they lost.
I wonder if they allow people to bring in.
Go run over to the liquor store, Ivy or something. That said, though, I will say. The food was Charleston's food system, and I like the way it looked there, and I was impressed. I was impressed with how big it was.
Was it dark? The parking lot was. I had to park in front of Mahogany.
Yeah, we had a very difficult time trying to park.
I think they unparked it
A lot. In fact, when Mahogany is open and it's a Friday or Saturday night, they're going to have a parking issue. The other thing I noticed is the parking lot raises quite a bit, and it was fine last night. It was almost 50, 60 degrees yesterday. But on a real icy day, that might be because that parking lot from where you're parked, it rises up to the building.
It'll be interesting. Well, then you'll also have the whatever that cigar thing is behind it.
I think it's going to be called. I was looking up something about it. It has a different name.
Is the jewelry store below it? Is Gunderson's below it?
Separate building.
A separate building?
Yeah, the cigar bar is the building to the north of Gunderson's.
Which kids you bring there?
Maddie's here.
To learn more about the Equalizer,
You haven't seen my car, have you?
That was great. Wow, Jeff will be disappointed. He thought about coming
I'm
today.
having lunch with Spencer. He's the guy that sent me the link to it originally, and then I looked at like dozens of cars. Spencer Morrissey.
Oh, he's in town?
Yeah.
Oh, so Spencer still comes back and sees the hoi polloi in Omaha sometimes?
Yeah. I gave him tickets to the game last night.
Oh, okay.
We had Seder at Tippy's house. What?
Creighton game?
Yeah. His dad.
Did they win?
Good question, Amy.
Michael, did Creighton win last night?
You're asking a UNO Maverick. 30 seconds.
You're the newsroom.
They probably did.
All right, we have probably did.
Nebraska beat Wisconsin. Number 6 Wisconsin a couple nights ago. Yeah.
You know how long it's been for Nebraska basketball to do
Anything? Since
Well, they beat the number 1 team.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
They actually are doing some good things this year. Although they got humiliated at Maryland.
Online at eaglemortgagecompanY.com. NMLS number
Happens to the average of them.
Yeah.
Listen on our free
Happens to the worst
iHeartRadio
of
for
them.
all your music, sports, talk, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. News Radio 1110 KF.
And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals sitting right next to Trenton Magid. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and our relatively new title sponsor, Cheer Athletics, local chapter of Cheer Athletics owned by our very good friends Craig and Tiffany Wolf. Cheer Athletics is an all-star gym. There are different types of cheer leagues for competitive cheer, but the one that is generally considered the best, if you will, is All-Star Cheer. And the Cadillac of the All-Star Cheer world is Cheer Athletics. It started in Dallas, and then it's expanded. Omaha was the 12th location when Craig and Tiffany opened it a couple years ago. And a lot of you are, thinking, just Cheer Athletics, we've heard of that. Well, that's because for the last couple years, they were sponsoring the Grow Omaha Eats restaurant reviews with Sarah Baker Hansen. They've switched to the show. I think part of it is that Craig is a big Grow Omaha fan. He just loves the radio show. He's been a guest co-host a few times, and so I think he thought I might rather sponsor the show and all that. So we're very excited to have them here. But most importantly, if you are a parent or a grandma or a grandpa, and the kiddos need something to challenge themselves. To learn how to excel and to compete and to develop and become better people, look to Cheer Athletics. The Omaha location is in Papillion, highways 50 and 370 just to the southwest.
Jeff, if that's elite cheer, the pinnacle of the cheerleading world, and it's a very growing industry, that means that is the type of cheer that we're most likely not to be able to get into.
You and me?
Yeah.
I don't think we have the flexibility. Plus, I would love to see those cheerleaders try to throw you in the air.
Or put me on top of the pyramid.
I'm thinking you might be more of like the anchor.
Dang, the base.
Yeah. At any rate, with that, we got a couple things we want to bring to your attention today. And the first one, we are making progress on the streetcar. The Omaha Streetcar Committee, the city of Omaha, if you will, received a bid for $47.6 million for 6 streetcars. Now, interestingly, this comes from a company called CAF, based in Spain, the country of Spain, España, if you will. And this company has a U.S. division. They supply rail cars, rail system equipment. They're going to, according to the bid, produce streetcars for Omaha that are very similar to streetcar systems they did in Kansas City and Cincinnati. These cars will be about 77 feet long. There's usually more than one of them together because they have that flexible middle thing, kind of like the Orbit buses, I guess. They go up to 43 miles per hour. Now, sometimes people say, 43 miles per hour? That's not very fast. It is for a streetcar. Remember, streetcars are not a light rail. They're not commuter rail. Streetcars are designed for dense places that take you from block to block to block. It's why, a lot of times people say, why don't they extend the streetcar and have it go all the way out to Gretna and I can get on it and commute to work? That's more like a light rail that Omaha's not big enough to have right now. Streetcars are more like take you from this urban block to a couple other urban blocks away. So it's perfect for where it's at, and you don't need it to go terribly fast.
Is it called heavy rail, or is it?
Heavy rail would be Union Pacific.
Okay.
Freight trains
This is medium rail?
Things like that. Streetcars are not they are on a rail, but they're not called like light rail or anything like that. Maybe they're like super light. Featherweight rail.
They're welterweight rail.
But at any rate, streetcar actual real construction should begin this summer. Now, there's so many pieces involved in this. If you've been downtown, you may have noticed little pockets of work being done on the Farney corridor. That's what I call Farnham and Harney together, the Farney corridor. And you got to be careful because some people think that's an inappropriate word, but the Farney corridor. And so far, a lot of work with underground utilities, seeing what utilities are under the lines, soil conditions. But some of the actual, I'm told, actual concrete work will actually start as early as the summer. And this project is bigger than some people might think because both the Harney and Farnham Street bridges over Interstate 480, kaboom, gone, rebuilt as part of this project.
Wow.
That is no small task to rebuild those bridges.
So it's coming, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's controversial, but I also know we need to give it a chance because we've already been through the public comment period. We've been through a lot of controversy, and we've been talking about this for 25 years. And let's see how it goes. Let's be positive and see what happens.
We should have built it 20 years ago, but we didn't. We can't undo the past, so now we can just make a wonderful, outstanding system that we have right now. So let's talk about the Nebraska economy. Trenton, World Herald had an interesting article yesterday. Headline is Lack of Workers and Housing Throttle. I love that word, throttle. Yes. Are throttling Nebraska's economic growth. So the state, looks like the Nebraska Department, or rather the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, brought in some guru to talk about the economy. Unfortunately, the stuff he said, I think we kind of already knew this, but we just don't have enough human beings. The unemployment rate is one of the lowest in the country. Nebraska has one of the highest rates of people who work more than one job. So we have people are pulling their weight here and really working hard, and it's still not enough. And the other thing that's causing a problem is while Nebraska housing is still very affordable compared to a lot of states that are home to very large metropolitan areas or in coastal areas, it's a lot more expensive than it was a couple of years ago. So you put together this people shortage and the recent increase in housing prices, and it's been tricky to get enough workers.
I'm working on it. It's coming up in my mind. I think we have a solution in that we're not a sanctuary state, and instead of illegal immigrants, open your houses up, ladies and gentlemen. If you have an extra room, if you have a cottage in your backyard, if you've got any finished space in your house, allow graduates, allow educated people that are employable, and offer them free housing. And then they come to our state, they get on their feet, and then they can afford a house someday. And that way, it cures that. They save money, and we bring in population. That's
a great idea, folks. In fact, Trenton has generously agreed to have his house be the very first one. And he is willing to take 5 or 6 of these graduate students. And
call me on Jeff's cell phone number.
And here's Trenton's address. The person who lives with Trenton is in the studio right now, and she didn't seem to like that comment very much. But interestingly, though, Trenton, one of the things that the consultant said is, what can you do to attract more legal immigrants, more legal migrants to the metropolitan area? And along those same lines, purely coincidental, in the Omaha newsletter that comes out Thursday afternoon, there was a bit in there about Topeka, Kansas, which is aggressively trying to recruit new immigrants, primarily from Spanish-speaking countries, because Topeka is they got a tough thing going. I've been there a few times, and there's nothing really wrong with the place, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything but there's nothing really great about the place either. And so they have a much, much, much bigger challenge to recruit people than we do here in Omaha. And they've got 6,000 some empty jobs and low unemployment. So they've just kind of gone very aggressive with that. There are a lot of good things though going on.
What are they doing?
Just a campaign to try and convince people that are recent arrivals from Spanish-speaking countries primarily. It doesn't have to be a Spanish-speaking country, but that's what they're targeting, probably because they have a lot of people who speak Spanish.
There's a lot of ways that Omaha, and I know we've talked to the Chamber of Commerce, Heath Mello, and City Council, and people like that. Our friend Brinker Harding. There's a lot of ways, and hopefully they're working on ways to, whether it's forgivable loans to help with housing or pay off education or something. If someone comes here and stays for a couple of years, hopefully they bring their families and their spouses get jobs and things like that. So we'll see, but I think that we spend so much time in making this a great community, which it is, but we also have to spend time not making it 2 million people, but Jeff and I think our comfort level is, 1.3 million, right?
Well, that you're talking about for the Omaha metro area? Yeah, I think that would be kind of the sweet spot.
What are we, 975 now or something?
Yeah, 980, somewhere in that range. The article did say a few things, though, Nebraska has going for it, namely the fact that it has a phenomenal and very recession-resilient economy. Talked about the state having one of the nation's largest ag and food processing sectors, strong manufacturing base, surprisingly strong tech and business service sectors. Surprisingly, I say to people who are not from here. Other positives for the state economy include relative affordability and cost of living, cost of doing business, strong education, a relatively young population. It's younger than the national average, and reasonably good roads and broadband infrastructure. The roads were better a month ago than they are right now, I will say that. Thanks to its younger population base, Nebraska's projected population of working class or working age people is expected to grow 6% over the next decade. And then one other thing it mentioned, growth in domestic product. The Omaha metro area has the second highest GDP growth in the nation in 2022, behind only Austin, Texas, and that's good company to be in. Yeah. So, but we have to keep working on that, keep recruiting people, and keep creating amenities like streetcars, like soccer stadiums, like billion-dollar airport terminal expansions, like entertainment and parks and recreational events and all that stuff, because it attracts people. All right. Time for us to break for the news and the weather. You got to be informed, and so we're going to step aside and make that happen. When we come back, though, we'll have plenty of other things to talk about. You don't want to miss any of it. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Cheer Athletics and Dingman's Collision Center on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Tired of walking into a tunnel and
are you implying that we're not informing them?
Want to inject some life into your
You got to be informed. That's why we got to let you have the news.
We don't tell them the national news.
Stunning interior branding, from eye-catching murals and window film to recognition and history.
Good restaurants? You go to Joe's?
We did one night. So
you go Joe's Stone?
Yeah, we drove down there. So the first night we just ate at the resort, and it was quite good. Then the next night we went to Wild Sea in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Very good. Sat on the.
You flew to Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, I try to as much as possible, especially now, because now Southwest has a nonstop.
Do they have a nonstop back or just?
Yeah, but it's on Saturday, and we came back on Friday because of the show. So we had to lay over at Chicago. Like I said, Amy, I got on the plane in Fort Lauderdale. No cold, no respiratory problem. Got off the plane in Chicago, full blown fucking cold. I was on the plane and I sneezed. I sneezed, and then all of a sudden, like, my throat went like it was like something like grabbed it like this. I was like, shit. I mean, it happened. I mean, that's how fast the cold came out. It was like, sneeze. It was like you throw water out, and like if you had like a blast freezer that was 50 below zero, and
I can feel when the cold.
You drop the water goes. That's what happened to my throat. Like that, I turned to Stephanie, I'm like, shit, I just got a cold, like in the last 30 seconds. At any rate, we went to Wild Sea. We went to Wild Sea in downtown Fort Lauderdale Monday night. We went to Joe's in Miami Beach on Tuesday night. Wednesday, did I skip a night? Oh yeah, Sunday night. Sunday night was Las Olas.
How's Joe's?
Awesome. Saturday night was the hotel resort. Sunday night was Las Olas. Monday night was a place called. It was really good, wherever it was. It was, I think it was Blue Moon. No. It was yeah, it was called Blue Moon, and we sat out by the water. It was right on the Intercoastal.
Okay.
And then Tuesday was Joe's. And then Wednesday night was.
And where is Blue Moon? Where is that?
It's like between the water and downtown Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
So in that area. And then the last night we were at Trulux. Had great stone crab and then it was like off the charts. Some of the best service I think I've ever seen. Like these waiters would run to you.
What town?
Right on the water of Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
And then I'm forgetting one of our really good ones we went to. We went to one called Sensi. It's a Pan-Asian Latin fusion restaurant. That was really good.
Where? In Fort Lauderdale?
Fort Lauderdale,
Okay.
Downtown Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Okay.
Because our resort was in Fort Lauderdale. And so, yeah, all the dinners were Fort Lauderdale except for when we went down to Joe's in Miami. Yeah.
Okay.
And Joe's is as great as it always is. You know, the thing that's cool about Joe's, most places you go to, the waiters are in their 20s, right? Maybe their 30s.
Right.
And Joe's, they're in their 60s.
And they have been working there for
they're
20 years.
70s.
Yeah, I love that.
I love like you go there and you find the same person that
Remember the Colombian guy?
the
In
Colombian
Vegas.
server in Vegas that we run into every time we went there.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the Vegas one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been? You haven't been to the Washington D.C. one yet. have
Yeah, I
you?
took the kids there in October.
So you've been to all four too.
I've been to all four,
But we've
yeah.
been to 3 together.
You and I have been to 3 together. We got to go to D.C. together. But we took the kiddos to the D.C. one. Now, the problem with the D.C. one is we went in October.
Old Bank or something.
That's not stone crab season. That's actually frozen stone crab you're eating.
I like.
But it still is really good.
I get king crab legs there.
Oh, at Joe's, yeah.
So much easier meat, and it's.
I like this. I like the taste of stone crab there. It's so sweet. I like the sweetness, and with that mustard sauce, it goes so great with it.
Yeah.
But
You get oysters?
I did at a couple places, but not at Stone's, or not at Joe's. I did oysters at Blue Moon and Wild Sea. They're real good. But mostly, like we had stone crab 3 nights for appetizers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody behave.
It was just 2 of us.
Oh, that's right. You did. I think your kid. Oh, you were talking about your kids.
Oh yeah, they were in October, DC.
Oh, Stephanie was a little bit rough. I put her in her place.
She yelled at me a lot. Locked herself in the bathroom, wouldn't talk for me.
So you rented a car, obviously.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that going down to Everglades was fun, and we went to the park close to Miami, where there's no tall growth. It's like mostly like a flooded open field. Next time we go, we're going to go more to the south side. I guess that's where they have a lot of the trees with the Spanish moss hanging off them. And
Did you have any rain?
Do you rent a car?
we did, yeah.
Okay.
No rain whatsoever, none. Which is weird because usually in Florida it seems like it rains most
Did you
afternoons.
go check out our hotel?
I've got a 27-part report for you, complete with photographs, and I did find the appraiser's report.
Flow charts.
Yeah. What's it called? Your hotel?
Colonnade.
Oh, Colin. Coral Gables. Yeah.
It was so funny. One time, our friends Stacy and Mark, way back when we were in Minneapolis, she wanted us to go buy some stuff at IKEA. And actually,
I hate that shit.
ran into
The stuff's shit.
Anna
Garbage.
Donaldson and her wife.
Oh, really? From West Side. Good old Anna. I haven't seen her forever.
Someone was a little upset with us having to go there.
IKEA is a fun store to walk through about once every 5 years.
But you can't just walk.
No, it's not
straight.
even fun.
But I like to walk through about once every 5 years, but none of the stuff you would want in your house, because if you sit on it too hard, it crumbles.
Yeah.
It's
So,
garbage.
It's like movie sets.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Like, if you sit down too abruptly, it's like that chair in my office.
From IKEA?
No, might as well been. Well, the person who sat in it
I'll
was
kill you.
pretty big. But, yeah.
We hope this chair lasts longer than your marriage putting it together.
Back in 10.
Seconds? Not ready.
Radio waits for no one.
You knew I was going to have a thoughts on Punxsutawney Phil and his convenient
urology, but also we talked about your favorite male recording artist. It was a fun show. Find it on the Emery Songger podcast page at KFAB.com.
No offense, Emery, but I think we should ban Groundhog Day. That is the absolute #1 most worthless holiday for anyone that doesn't live anywhere near Pennsylvania. Why do we care? Why do we have that?
Our friend John Blumenthal at Baird Home posted on Facebook. He's a serial poster, and he was saying that he couldn't believe that his law office was open
on Groundhog Day?
Yeah. That
is pretty insensitive of them. Well, welcome back to the show. It's brought to you by Cheer Athletics and Dingman's Collision Center. If you had a little trouble with that bout of horrific snow and historic cold that we had last month, and someone ran into you, no problem. Just get over to Dingman's Collision Center, and they'll take good care of it for you. And you might be thinking, well, where is Dingman's? Well, it's close to you because they have 4 metro area locations, one in Papillion. They have one on Saddle Creek Road in the urban core, one at 120th and Maple, and the other one is just a little bit southwest of Oakview Mall. So they take good care of you at all 4 of them. Just ask Trenton. He's been to all of them.
I've got a punch card.
He's got a punch
My 5th
card.
one is still not free, but they give me a good deal.
Yeah, he's got a loyalty membership. But it is time for our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, which is brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies is making places like Exarban Village and the Builders District downtown, North Downtown, where all sorts of fun stuff is happening. Tell you what, at Exarban Village, though, they've got A Priori and Status, the pre-loved handbag store, which is very, very cool store. Lots of great restaurants. Exarban Village also has Inner Rail Food Hall. And we do have a little news item there. Willie Dogs, which is an outstanding hot dog place. I went and tried it like the first week they were open in the Inner Rail Food Hall. As of last night, they are now serving ice cream, so you can get a dog and some ice cream to go with it. And then also at Exarban Village, Backlot Tap House, which is tied into the theater, the Exarban Cinema right there in the middle of the village, will be on America's Best Restaurants, February 7th. You can see it when it debuts on February 7th, right on Backlot's Facebook page.
Very cool.
And so that's very cool. Of course, Backlot also has a second location in the ACX 12 Theater, 204th Street between Harrison and Q. And that is your Noddle Companies Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight. If you want to learn more about Noddle Companies, check out their Facebook page or just go to noddlecompanies.com. Jay Noddle, who runs the company, been a guest on the show a number of times, and you might see him in the news periodically. He's the chairman of Omaha Streetcar, volunteering and giving back to the city and making our urban core a better place. Well, Trenton, this is an interesting little news item that popped up in the World Herald late last night. I noticed it on Omaha.com. And it says the National Hockey League, the NHL, the NHL commissioner publicly stated that there are 5 possible expansion cities. And he named them: Houston, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Omaha, Nebraska.
No way.
Now, I would not hold your breath. Because Omaha is a hell of a lot smaller market than Houston, Atlanta, and half the size of Cincinnati or Kansas City. But he identified these as, quote, cities who have showed interest in hosting a franchise, end quote. So what does that tell you? Someone in Omaha has reached out to the NHL about a hockey franchise. Who could it be?
Does that mean that we'd have another arena?
Don't you think they'd probably play at the CHI?
You would think, but most of the NHL have their own.
You know, we have long said that Omaha's probably too small for a big-time major league sports league, but that if it were to happen, the NBA and the NHL would probably be the best bets because football is too dependent on TV market, and our TV market's way too small. Baseball has 81 home games, and we're not big enough for that.
I know that I'm sure that salaries are huge in the NHL, but it'd be interesting to see what it would take, the costs involved, not just in the real estate and infrastructure, but the roster and coaching and
just the franchise fees. Like the article said, talked about the last two NHL expansion teams. One was the Las Vegas team, which is really a good team, and I can't remember what the other one was, but they were about $600 million in franchise fees. And so
no way.
You got to pay these players and all that sort of thing. But
$1 billion sport.
But then the article kind of threw a curveball because it said these 5 possible expansion cities. Then the NHL commish said, but Salt Lake City has the strongest proposal. So I guess it's really 6. He said 5, but then he added a 6th one apparently. So don't hold your breath, but
a city can dream.
A city can dream. And I tell you what, whoever in Omaha is working on this or thinking about this, we salute you for being a big thinker and a visionary and being bold.
Should we start a rumor?
And if you pull it off, whoever you are, if you pull it off, we will be in awe.
And we'll have you on the show.
And we'll have you on the show, and we will admire you terribly for years and years to come.
So you got that going for you.
So here's a little something fun. It's not Omaha, but I thought I'd just mention it real fast. Oklahoma City is a town that some Omahans know well. It's only about, a 7-hour drive.
We get mistaked for it sometimes.
Yeah, people think Omaha, Oklahoma. That happens a lot. And interestingly, the story's been out and about for a while about a ridiculously tall skyscraper that is planned for Oklahoma City. Now, when it first came out last fall, the plan was to have it be the second tallest building in the United States and second only to the Freedom Tower, where the Twin Towers used to stand in New York City. Well, since then, last month, they decided they need to go a little bigger. And so now the plan is to make it the tallest skyscraper in America, the 5th or 6th tallest skyscraper on the planet. And this thing would be 1,907 feet tall. And
it's going to be 500 feet per floor.
And they chose 1907 because that's the year Oklahoma became a state. And it would be condos. Now, I've been to Oklahoma City. It's growing fast. And they have like an 800-foot skyscraper there already for Devon Energy Company that sticks out like a sore thumb because the other buildings are like maybe 300 feet or something like that.
Right.
But this thing, for a little bit of perspective, would be almost... Well, it'd be well over 1,200 feet taller than the New Mutual of Omaha skyscraper.
So I would tell you, Jeff, that I think Omaha has a much better chance of getting an NHL team than Oklahoma City does a 1,900 square foot tower.
Yeah, well, because the question everyone has is because we've said this before, tall buildings cost exponentially more to build than regular buildings because there's just so much more cost that goes up with putting floors higher in the air. And I don't know, are there enough people in the entire state of Oklahoma that would buy a condo in a 1,900-foot building? But kind of interesting to think about.
It's not like a place where people want a second home that's a condo. For the view.
I mean, the view would be expansive, where you can see the wind come rushing down the plains. But with that, we're going to take our final break of the hour. When we come back, it'll be time for the Turner Construction Lightning Round, and there are a lot of things on the list, so you don't want to miss any of that. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Yeah, look at this thing. This is the new 1,900-foot version of it. The crazy thing is,
all those buildings around it.
Each one of these buildings, each one of these 3 around it,
2 minutes,
would be noticeable additions to the downtown Omaha skyline, and it would be noticeable additions to the Oklahoma City skyline.
Did they say how many square feet that is?
Yeah, probably somewhere. And just these 3 would probably have more condos than Oklahoma City can fill. But when you add, here's what it looks like. Look at that thing. So it would be like 400 feet taller than the Willis Tower, the Sears Tower in downtown Chicago.
400 feet. So that's about.
Because it's about 50.
That's probably about 25 or 30 stories higher.
Yeah. Than the.
And how many stories is this?
Let's see what it says.
What is it, about 12 foot a story, maybe?
It'd be 131 feet taller than the Freedom Tower, One World Trade Center in New York City. 5th tallest in the world. Over $1 billion. It's got to be a lot more than that. It's got to be several $billion. A Hyatt Hotel. Oh, a 480-room Dream Hotel by Hyatt, a 350-room Hyatt Hotel by Hyatt, and 1,776 residential units ranging from market rate to affordable to luxury. I'm thinking the affordable is not going to be very high up.
It's a vertical city. The fire department must love it. So,
if this happens, though, I'm driving down to Oklahoma City a couple times while it's under construction,
30
seeing
seconds.
that thing.
so that's what's great about social media and media is you can publish anything.
You can, yeah.
There was one developer that just kept putting things on the front page of the World Herald.
Yeah, I've heard that.
All right, back in 10, and you got about 4 minutes and 30 seconds till your bumper.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Eagle Mortgage online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. NMLS number 2376.
News Radio 1110 KFAB is free and convenient on our iHeartRadio app. Free never sounded so good. From music.
All righty, welcome back to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Chair Athletics and Dingman's Collision Center. It is time for your Turner Construction Lightning Round, brought to you appropriately by Turner Construction. Thank you. They are one of the nation's best, most respected, largest, and experienced construction firms. So with them, if you are using Turner for one of your projects, you get the best of both worlds. You've got this massive firm with incredible resources and talented people that have experienced just about every challenge you could experience in the construction industry. But you mix that with a Nebraska office right here in Omaha with Omaha people. A lot of people who've grew up in Nebraska, have lived their whole career in Nebraska, and really care about the community. In fact, I go to some of these real estate things, construction functions, economic development stuff. You always see Turner employees there because they love this community and they are out
sponsor a lot
there.
of stuff too, not just this lightning round.
So true, yeah. And they put out a great construction market report and all that. So we strongly recommend Turner if you're thinking about doing a project. You get the best of both worlds, that small town feel with worldwide international expertise, experience, and talent. All right, let's get into it. Insomnia Cookies is going to open in a space in the Capital District. The Capital District is that area near 10th and Capitol Avenue that is anchored by a Marriott Hotel. Texas de Brazil Steakhouse is there. So Insomnia Cookies is coming. They have more than 240 locations, heavy presence in college towns and in downtown areas. They're famous for delivering warm cookies late at night. Lighthouse Bar and Grill is opening in Blair, and this business has 3 existing locations in Omaha, 132nd and West Center Road, 156th and Maple, and in Tiburon Point on South 168th Street. And Bon Vivant Sweets will hold a ribbon cutting Monday at 10748 Virginia Plaza in La Vista. This is a business that provides salon suites for hairstylists, estheticians, massage therapists, and the like. So the world's most admired companies by Fortune magazine came out, and our good friends at Berkshire Hathaway are number 4 in the world, behind only Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. Pretty cool.
And probably their market caps are all up there too.
I think they're pretty respectable. Now, these were only big companies. Union Pacific made the list for the 18th time in the last 22 years and was the highest ranked railroad on the list. So a couple of Omaha giant companies getting a good presence there. Throwback Arcade and Lounge finally decided they couldn't go on any longer, apparently. This is the controversial 2-level bar, 14th and Howard Street, downtown, just west of the Old Market, closing permanently on February 16th. They came close to losing that liquor license.
It's a very cool building, great landlord, but tough business model. And it's right next door to where Matty Grave and I represented the landlord, where Patrick's Market used to be, and Flywheel, which is going to be Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and it's going to be a great space for them.
Congratulations to the owners and employees of Jim's Rib Haven at 38th and Ames. They have reopened almost a year after a really bad fire. A lot of fire damage last March. And so a lot of that, because that's a very good barbecue place. And a lot of people were worried that it might not come back, but they did open this week. They are back. And speaking of restaurants that are back, for those of you in Council Bluffs, Tasty Treat at 13996 Wabash Avenue. This is one of those ice cream places that closes for a lot of the winter.
Like Dairy Chef out in Elkhorn.
Very similar to Dairy Chef in Elkhorn, you're right. They're reopening for the season February 22nd, and they did some renovations during the off season. So they're kind of like a sports team. They have an off season. So Trenton and I both tried the new Charleston's. I went there with my kids and my parents last night. Had a pretty good experience, and you went there earlier this week.
Yeah, for a business lunch, and it's a convenient place. I like both Charleston's on Dodge Street. The new one is bigger. Definitely the parking seems a little bit tight, but they have more parking lots around there. And I'm not sure if they got their liquor license.
As of last night, they did not, and I will say
that was not intentional.
Yeah, food was right as Charleston's food always, and Charleston's is one of those places to me. It's kind of like it's been around since the mid '90s. It's become kind of a comfort place for me. It's just like a good old standby.
Good salad.
But I was a little disappointed I couldn't get an old fashioned last night. So hopefully they get that liquor license up here pretty soon. But it's big, it's nice, and if you're a Charleston's fan, go check it out. The music is playing, which means that we're done, but never fear, next week is always around the corner. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Cheer Athletics, Dingman's Collision Center, and don't forget Turner Construction. We'll chat with you next week at 9, right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Bum, bum, bum.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.